Hi, everyone. My name is Matthew Broadhead, and I'm a medical student here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And I'm here today interviewing someone as part of Wisconsin Voices for Recovery. Um, if my guests could introduce themselves briefly.
Hi, my name is Evan Bomberger. I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict.
First off, thank you for being here, Evan, and thank you for being willing to share your story today. Just to start off, so myself and everyone can get to know you a little better. Do you want to start by maybe saying where you're from, what you like to do for fun, or if you have any hobbies?
Yeah, I'm from Evansville, Wisconsin. Evan from Evansville. It's, it's a little town in between Madison and Janesville. Um, I have a 10-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son at home with me, and I've excuse me. I've lived in Evansville my whole life, and we've just found a new place there, and um, I work out of Evansville. I do concrete with my dad. I've done that since I got out of high school, and I guess for fun, I like to hunt and fish, watch sports. Big Wisconsin fan. Um, like to like to go out with friends, like to play pool. That's something I picked up on now that I'm living cleaner. I guess I'm trying new things. Stuff that I never did before, and the things that I used to do I'm getting back into.
Excellent. Well, that's great to hear, and go Pack Go, great year for them.
Yeah.
So, next question, why did you want to do this interview?
I is part of my recovery. This is um to be honest, this is more for me than it is for anyone else. This is what helps me stay sober, and if I can help, if I can help one person, or I spread the message, that's the reason I'm doing this tonight.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, and I bet you're gonna help quite a few people. So do you want to kind of start maybe by telling us like your journey, how it began, and kind of how you got to this point?
Yeah, I guess it starts back when I was a teenager. I think I had. I'll back up even further. So alcoholism kind of runs in my family. So I was around alcohol growing up. It was a way of life. It was always there. Family, family get-togethers, family outings. It was there. It just that was a part of life. If you're doing something, there's usually a beer involved. Um, so when I got into my teens, I started drinking here and there. Not heavy, but I liked the effects of alcohol, and um, but I didn't start out as full blown party or anything like that. But when I did drink, I drank to excess, blackout usually. Remember bits and pieces. People would have to remind me what I did. I wasn't. Eventually, I started getting into trouble, um, legal action down the road. But I guess what I'm getting at is it didn't from the get go. Even though I didn't drink often, when I did drink, I drank a lot. Um, and I went when I got to college. I went up to UW Superior. I just went for 1 year, and basically, um, I drank I drank too much, and I smoked weed, and that was every day. And I got a little ahead of myself. I also suffer from severe anxiety and depression. So when you mix that with the drugs and alcohol and self-medicating, I've been on prescription after prescription since a younger age, and when I'm self-medicating on top of that, it nothing worked for me. So I just continued to do that. Um, when I turned, so I went to school for a year, and then I came back and started with the family business doing concrete, and I didn't really drink a whole lot when I came back. I guess I'd go to parties now and then, and once again, I didn't drink all the time, but when I drank again, I drank to excess. Um, so that was a couple years from school to me turning 21. That's when things really took off for me. Um, drinking, drinking every day. Um, yeah, it was a cycle. What I do for a living, we're usually bouncing around doing concrete. We're never in one place for long, and it didn't matter where I was. I knew where the nearest gas station was when I got done for the day. Before I got back to the shop, had a beer. Actually, I had more than one beer. Just started drinking once we left the job site type thing. And at that point, I was smoking weed every day too, and that went on. That went on for a while. I had also experimented with cocaine. I think the Xanax came a little later. I'll bring that up. Adderall. I experimented with that, but drinking and smoking was my thing. And excuse me, I wanted to say so. This went on. This was every day. Um, drank and smoked and woke up the next day feeling hungover, just feeling like crap. I'm not gonna do this again. I don't know how many times, thousands of times, I woke up in the morning saying I'm never gonna do this again. And at the end of the day, here we are, off to the races. Um, I tried some some I do see I did and continue to see a counselor, and they got me into a program. I'd go a couple nights a week. I'd go. I'm trying to think of just like an outpatient group, and I did that for a while. I can't think. I think I was still drinking on nights off. I'd still drink, or I'd drink afterwards. So I guess what I'm getting to there is I knew there was a problem. I knew I needed help, but I wasn't ready, and I wasn't strong enough to overcome it. I wasn't ready at that point, I guess is the best way to put it.
Um, what
There's there's a
thing,
lot here. There's a lot here. So I'm doing all right.
whatever you're willing to share, I mean, whatever you think would be helpful, just we got time.
Okay. Okay. Um so yeah, I really didn't try to stay sober. I might tell you the truth, I was probably doing it for everybody else. Not even probably. I was doing it to you know, to make my mom maybe not worry so much, or my siblings, or my dad, or friends, all my relationships. Um, and I did go to a couple detoxes, 2 or 3 day detoxes, um, for the excessive drinking. And there's a couple times with the cocaine. I was still experimenting, but overdid it and went to get help. and then I'd get back into a program, group therapy type. Uh, and I remember I was in a relationship. Wasn't a good relationship. It was toxic. This is when I was 25, and I drank and smoked and tried to hide it, and that didn't work, and it was fighting and fighting. And I remember when that relationship got over, and I was still doing this every day. I knew somebody who dealt cocaine, and it didn't take me long. Um, I was living on my own. And I was like, I'm gonna give them a call and give this a try. I've done it before, and I really love the effects of it. So that was 25 or 26. Um, so I'm 38 now. I should have said right away in this. I'll say it right now. My sobriety date is November 8th of 2020. So I'm 38 years old. So from the time I was 25, 26-ish to just in 38, I've lived my life since then heavily abusing cocaine along with the alcohol. And my first residential treatment for drugs and alcohol would have been in August of 2000, 2010. It didn't take long from when I started the cocaine. I mean, that's a very, very fast downhill road to take. That was when I was first introduced. I went to a 30-day treatment. I was first introduced to AA, which is Alcoholics Anonymous, and NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous. And I really liked that because I got to meet people that were just like me, and I wasn't alone. I wasn't the only one. Whatever I had done, somebody had done worse, and anybody, everybody can compare in one way or another. We're all this. We all have different stories, but we're all the same as far as um, the AA and NA goes. So I felt really comfortable there. However, I think I stayed sober for a month to 6 weeks after I got out of that first treatment. And during during that year, I met who would soon be my wife. She wanted I had known her since high school, and we had a thing for each other way back when, and we reconnected. And this is when the drugs were at my worst, and she was there 100% to help me, and she stuck with me through that treatment. We had started seeing each other. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, and then I gotta back up.
No,
But
you're good.
we had gotten together earlier that year that I went into treatment, and she stuck with me through that. And it didn't take me long to decide, she's really on my side. This is the person I wanna be with. Part of me was thinking, back in my mind, maybe she can even save me, kind of thing. Um, that's not the reason I eventually did propose to her, but as an addict, that was in my mind too. Maybe somebody can save me. Um, but regardless, I loved her to death. Um, I did propose to her on Christmas Eve of that year. We um, conceived our daughter in late January of the following year, so that this is all happening really quick. When I'll never forget the day she called me and told me she was pregnant. She had a random checkup at the doctor's, and sure enough, she found out she was pregnant. I was high on cocaine and drunk when she informed me of this. It was one of the most sobering experiences I've ever had, but at the same time, you know, I I was altered when I found out I was going to have my first child. Uh, it's so fast forward. I will also say that as far as drugs and alcohol goes, you can't. I can't stay sober unless I want it for myself. So we, we. I had a girlfriend who became my fiance. We can gonna have a baby. Uh, got a house. From the outside in, everybody's thinking, well, Evan, he's got a good thing going. He should be able to clean up his act. He should be able to stay sober because of all these good things. And that's just not how it works. Um, I was using a lot, multiple times a week through that year leading up to my daughter's birth, and September September 21st, 2011, my daughter was born. It was the greatest day of my life. Hands down, greatest day of my life. I was so happy. Um, and when after we had my daughter, I realized how much I didn't like the fact that my daughter's mom did not share the last name, and that we weren't, uh, we were family, but I believe we should be married, and when I say we, my fiance had to pretty much put together a wedding in about 2 months because I wanted to get married, but I'm living the lifestyle that I was, and she pretty much took care of that, even though I told her we need to get married sooner the better. Um, I was married late December of 2011. My drinking and drugging stayed the same. I was using multiple times a week. I never, well, I shouldn't say I never, but whenever I was doing drugs, I was drinking because with my anxiety, I had to regulate the cocaine with alcohol. So it was a balancing act. Every time I use it was a balancing act between, feeling like I'm freaking out, like I gotta escape. So I gotta keep drinking and drinking and drinking, and then I'd start feeling, a little more calm. So now I needed, more cocaine, and that's how I was living my life. And my wife, she knew what was going on, but she didn't want to believe it at the same time. I think it was easier just not to believe it and go about her life, and I'd figure it out. So she'd go through her routine. We have the baby at home, and who knows what I'm going to show up like at the end of the day. And she just kept doing her thing. Um, and I guess we'll fast forward a little bit. So then we were pregnant with my son 2 years later. So we eventually had him in October 2013. And I can still remember this too. It was the day we got home from the hospital with him. It was my wife and my daughter and my brand new son on the couch the day we got home. I made up some excuse about how I had to go up to Farm and Fleet, and I went up and got cocaine and got high. And this is the day that we came home from the hospital with our baby boy. And this is where my head's at, what my addiction does. I'm on top of the world because I just had my son, while the way I think is what can make this even better, and that was my go-to. I drugged, drank and drugged when I was happy, when I was sad. When I was, oh, it didn't matter what mood. It didn't matter what mood. Is I always had a reason to justify using. Feel I feel low, I'm down in the dumps, my depression's horrible, so I better use because that's instant gratification. If I'm feeling high, like I just said, what can make me higher? And that's how I was living. I I mentioned before how I went to detoxes. I couldn't tell you how many detoxes I've been to. Um, this continued to happen over the years since my son was born. Um, I'm I messed up Valentine's Day. I messed up my wife at the time, her birthday. I missed my daughter's kindergarten concert because I went on a bender for a couple days. I can still I can remember having to explain this to my wife when she got home, or I didn't even have to explain. She just looked at my face and just I'm not going to repeat what came out of her mouth, but she was, of course, absolutely furious. And they left to go to the concert, and I remember I got in my truck because I can't miss my daughter's kindergarten concert. And I got halfway there. We're in a small town, being a lot of construction companies in this town. We know a lot of people. My mom and dad graduated from Evansville. We know a lot of people, so there's going to be a ton of people I know at this thing. And I'm looking at my eyes in the rearview mirror, and I'm just glad I turned the truck around and didn't go. And that was kind of, oh, kind of a lack of a better term, kind of a slap on the face. Like, we got to do something here. And I think I got back into AA, and I started back back up a little bit. I guess I've been in and out of AA this entire time since I went to the first treatment back in 2010, and I just remember I started going again. Um, I know I couldn't tell you how long I stayed sober, if it was a month or if it was 3 months. It seemed like my use did start to change maybe a little bit after that. There was no rhyme or reason to it. I go a week, I go a month, I go a day, I go 2 months. Um, and this went on. Well, and this went on up till my sobriety date on November 8th, 2020, and I went into detox for about 3 days, and then I went into back in Oconomowoc at Rogers, and then I went into residential treatment. Um, I was there, so I got in on the 8th. I think I was scheduled for discharge about a week before Christmas, and I knew that I was not ready to leave. I wanted I wanted sobriety. I wanted to be sober, and I did not want to leave. And I asked for more time there, and we were able to get it. Like, and this was extremely hard because let me backtrack a little bit with the treatments last year. I missed both my children's birthdays. I missed Thanksgiving, and now I'm about to miss Christmas. But if I'm going to stay sober, I have to do it for myself and nobody else. And that's why I made the decision that I need to stay here longer. And if I can get 2 more weeks, I'm going to take them. And I got out on December 30th. Um, I was extremely depressed. I accepted divorce. I'm living at my parents' again. So basically, I feel like I've lost everything. I'm 38 years old. I'm living at my parents' house. Just everything in my life right then was negative, very dark. I'll just go right out there and say I thought about suicide every day. Every morning when I woke up, I was angry because I woke up again. There was there's a couple different times I knew how I knew how I was going to kill myself, if I was going to do it. I had a plan. There's a couple times where I was really thinking I was going to do it. Time I became physically ill, and, thinking about my kids and thinking about my family, and I couldn't do it. The other, the other time, I'm I be I've become spiritual over the years of being in AA. I believe in a God, not a Christian God. I believe in a God. I believe there's a higher power. Um, I was scared to go to hell. Second time, I was scared to go to hell. If I do this, I'm going to hell. It terrified me. So there was two really dark days in my life that I got. I ended up getting past. At the same time, I was in a PHP program through Rogers, which is a partial hospitalization program. I wasn't in the hospital because of COVID, so I was doing that on the computer every day. Um, so that was a couple month program. As I'm having these dark days and just depressed and down and out, my parents had a hard time watching that, and I ended up moving back in with um, Mike and his wife in February, and then I did a IOP program, which is an intensive outpatient program. I didn't do that on the drugs and alcohol. I just did that on my mental health to work on my depression and anxiety. I got a lot out of that too, just concentrating on that aspect of my life. Spring came around, and at this time I only had my kids Friday nights through Sunday mornings. And that was just because of my living situation. Um, I didn't want to ask if I could have them there 50% of the time just because I was able to, as far as my ex and I's relationship. But just my living situation, I thought that was too much to ask. Kind of got off the subject there, but so I'm living there, seeing my kids, not every weekend, but not as often as I wanted. When spring came around, I got back to work. I was still struggling about just kind of about lifestyle. I mean, I'm sober, but I still don't have the kids. I'm still living with someone else. I'm still thinking of the negatives. So it took me a few months, and things started to get better. I was going to meetings. I was getting my 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, 5 month, 6 month coin. They kept building up. Things kept getting better. Um, I in late September, or I let me backtrack a little bit. In April, my ex-wife and I's divorce was final. Um, but that was about the same time where I started getting the kids 50% of the time because I did ask the people that I was living with. That ended up working out really good. It worked out great for everyone. then to fast forward again, we got our own place back in Evansville. I was in Janesville. That's where I was living with a friend and his wife. We got to move back to Evansville. The kids got to go back into Evansville School District with their friends. Um, everything just gradually got better this year. Things keep getting better. Today, right now, today, sitting here doing this, I can tell you is the happiest I've ever been in my entire. My kids are happy. Good relationship with my ex. I like waking up in the morning. Some days are better than others. Just because I'm sober and things are going well doesn't mean I don't have bad days, but bad days are few and far between, and they're not as bad as they used to be. So I celebrated my 1 year on November 8th, and that was a huge day for me. Like I never ever saw that day coming. But to believe it or not, because of how the addiction works, what I wanted, I don't know if I should laugh about this, but I can because I'm still sober, I guess. That's the most I wanted to use this whole time I've been sober, in this last year was the day that I got my year, because my disease is telling me I've made it a year. You know, I've made it a year, so why not? Let's give this a try. It won't go back to being as bad as it was. But I have the tools, I have the program, I have friends in the program that I talk to. Those thoughts crept in and I was able to take care of them. But I guess I kind of laughed just because I'm thinking of how powerful this disease is, that even be sober for a year and they can just pop back in your mind just like that, and it starts taking over. And I can't do it by myself. That's why I need to surround myself with people, myself with people that just know where I'm coming from. I feel comfortable with, and I can tell into. Yes, and I have the holidays. I get to see my kids on the holidays. My kids aren't worried about dad and wondering why he's in the hospital again. That's what they're not old enough to understand. My daughter, I think, kind of knows about drinking, maybe, but as far as the drug abuse, and that's something I'm gonna have to talk about with them someday, is because there's a lot of drinking, alcoholism, and drug abuse in my family, and it's hereditary. They're gonna need to know kind of my story either way. But like what I have with those close to me in my family, they'll always have somebody that they can rely on when they need. So I get to be with my kids and my family for the holidays this year. Keep on moving, keep on moving forward.
Well, thank you. First off, thank you
Yes,
so
that's
much
all I got.
for sharing that. I mean, you said you were nervous and you should have wrote things down, but I was just thinking the whole time, like, are you reading from something? Because you tell a great story. You really do. You're easy to listen to. Your honesty is greatly appreciated. So thank you for that. First question I just have is kind of what were the resources you mentioned, the AA meetings and the programs. What were the resources and maybe some of the people that you found most helpful along your path to recovery?
um, I would say I couldn't when I was at my worst. I couldn't myself. Everybody's different. I couldn't get sober unless I went into treatment. That's just what I needed. I needed to be somewhere 100%. Well, no treatment's 100% safe, but darn near. that's safe for me, so I can be away from all substances. That kind of, gives me a kickstart with my sobriety and being safe, and then getting back into AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, NA, and Narcotics Anonymous. There are other recovery programs out there I don't know much about. AA and NA is what I know. I think I mentioned I see a therapist. I was seeing her every other week. Just recently, we've gone every 3 weeks because things are getting better. Um, I'm, going to those AA meetings, staying connected with people, and not just staying connected with people at the meetings, but just texting, or of course talking on the phone, texting or Messenger or Facebook. Just
And then
being open and honest with everyone. 'Cause I'm an honest person when I'm not using. I'm using, it's all lies because I gotta defend myself. I gotta make up excuses. I can be honest today, and that feels, I don't have to lie anymore. So it's just all about being open and honest about what's really going on.
and then on the opposite end of the spectrum, what have been maybe some barriers that throughout your recovery that you faced?
I The anxiety and depression, it's still, that's gotten better. It's a lot better today than it was even 2 months ago. Depression would prevent me from reaching out when I'm depressed or anxious or feel like using. That's when I need to reach out the most. And kind of with that depression, that's something I still need to work on. Is not just calling when things are great. I got to call when things aren't so great either. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I have work to do there. Um, as far as other barriers, I am blessed that I told you that day that I had a year, that thought process, that thinking of using, and that thought process started coming in. But other than that, I've been blessed that since I went into treatment, I haven't had that compulsion. It's been compulsion, excuse me, obsession has been lifted. But that being said, it's not always going to be like that. I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict till the day I die, and I always have to watch out for that. And that's why I got to reach out, even when things are bad. I got to reach out. When things are great, I got to reach out because I have to continue to do those things. Because if I stop doing those things and come too comfortable, then I become complacent, and that's a road I can't go back down.
What advice would you have for somebody maybe is in a similar situation you were in?
Number one advice I can give, well, the best thing I think I could say to start off with is you're not alone. A lot of people think they're alone. I thought I was alone. No matter how a person um, with substance abuse or just mental health, depression, anxiety, how bad they feel or how bad they might have it, somebody has been there before. Um, Going into treatment, doing the things that they suggest, and then going to AA. It's again Alcoholics Anonymous, having a therapist, seeing a psychiatrist, and not only being on medication, taking that medication regularly, just listen to the professionals. I'm definitely not Wasn't the worst user out there, but it was plenty bad enough. And if I can get sober, there's so many other people that I can get sober too. And I didn't get it right away. You're gonna not everybody, but I crashed and burned a lot of times, and I didn't give up. And I don't. I think I said at one point, and I was 38 years old, and this is what I'm going through. Well, now it's not. Oh, I'm 38 years old, and this is going on. It's I'm only 38 years old, and I got a whole life ahead of me.
You mentioned,
Kind of forgot where we were
no,
right there.
you're good. You mentioned the meetings. Wow, what's it feel like going to that first meeting, and what advice would you have for somebody going to their first meeting?
Have an open mind. You going to your first meeting, going to any meeting, a person does not have to talk. You don't have to stand up, don't have to announce your name, don't have to tell your story unless you want to. And I was lucky enough where we went in. My first AA meeting is when I was in treatment, which really helped me as I could go in there with the group that I was with. Unfortunately, a lot there's a lot of people that come into AA for one meeting, and I never see them again, or might see them years down the road. I think people might go to a meeting and not enjoy it or hate it and give up. There's a lot of I'm not going to say there's any bad AA meetings out there. Some are just better than others, and some work better. Certain ones work better for other people. It just depends on who you are, and find something. You gotta find something you like. That's kind of what it's all about. Find a group of people that you're comfortable with.
What things do you do now that kind of keep you busy, or maybe activities that help you maintain your sobriety?
I when I have the kids 50% of the time, we stay we stay busy. It's amazing how being sober, how much how much better of a father I am, not only because I'm sober, but because of this energy and this motivation that I have. And we're always busy. We have fun together. We're always doing stuff. When I don't have them, and go to meetings, go out with friends, uh, safe friends. Everybody has to set their own boundaries. My family's very close. I spend a lot of time with my family. Hunting season right now. I've started hunting again. Now I did before, but it was really hit and miss if I was going to go that year or not. And finally getting back into. And I did join a gym last winter. Um, with work, what I do for a living when it gets busy, I'm really active then working months, but things are going to slow down now, and I'll be going to the gym again. I guess you just kind of got to find your thing and find what works, because when you use for that long, and now all of a sudden I got to fill out all this time, I gotta find out what works for me, because getting sitting at home and getting stuck in my own is the worst place I can be.
What are some of your goals, maybe going forward, or where do you hope to see yourself in a few years?
I Well, number one goal, stay sober. Um, I said I work with my dad. family business. I like to form a partnership there at some point. Started taking over. I had quite a big role in the company years back before my substance abuse got so bad, and I'm starting to take that on again. My goals with the kids, I'm where I wanna be with the kids. I have a place that I like to live. Most important goal besides staying sober is just to be. I mean, I want to be happy, but just to be content with my life. You know, I don't need all these materialistic things that I was always searching for something before that I was never going to have. And now that I'm sober, all this, I don't need flashy. I don't need the best this and that. I just want to be content.
Well said.
That's what I want to do right now.
And then just to wrap things up, any last words or wisdom, maybe for those who haven't found their way out of addiction yet?
I guess I'll just go back to what I said. You're not alone, ever. Never ever alone. Even if you're not sure if you want it or not, reach out for help, give it a shot. There's so many people out there that are willing to help. There's so many great people. I had no idea once I finally started getting help how much was out there for me. We need more. There's still a stigma around drug addiction and alcoholism, but can't be don't don't ever be ashamed. Don't ever be ashamed because that's just the recipe for disaster. But that's something that you have to overcome with time. So I guess just try to get help and just see where it goes and just don't give up on yourself.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for taking the time to share your story, for being so open and honest. I think a lot of people, including myself, will definitely benefit from hearing about your journey, your strength, your perseverance in getting to where you are now. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. This was great for me too.